Did you know that so many celebrities can actually speak French? I'm French, I live in Paris, and since I've been doing this series, you've been sending me a lot of videos of celebrities speaking French, asking me to rate them, so that's what we're gonna do today. So remember, if they get a 10, it means that I personally think they're a native French speaker, and this time I have to say that there's quite a few people who impressed me, but if they get a 0, it means it's pure gibberish, you know, like Joey from Friends.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Je te floop.
So the first one is gonna be Jim Carrey, and I've loved a lot of his movies over the years, but he recently made the news with his speech in French when he received a César, which is France's equivalent of the Oscars.
Bonsoir. Il y a environ 300 ans, mon arrière grand-père, Marc-François Carrey, oui, Carrey, quittait Saint-Malo en France pour le Canada. Plus tard, j'ai continué jusqu'à Los Angeles et ce soir, avec ce magnifique honneur, ce carré a bouclé la boucle.
Alright, so here you can tell that he did learn French recently, but that doesn't matter because he's very good at communicating his feelings. You know, I always say this in these videos, but when speaking a language, it's important not to focus too much on being perfect, but instead you just need to try and focus on communicating what you want to express.
Si vous voulez que la fortune vous souriez lui de bord. C'est très difficile, mais nous devons essayer.
That's a tough one.
Try, yes. Mm-hmm. Je vais toujours chérir ce souvenir. Pardonnez-moi, je ne parle pas que le mot français, mais je l'emprunte juste. Ma langue est fatiguée. Je vous aime tous, du fond du cœur. Merci.
I love how honest he is about how hard it is to speak a foreign language. That's already a lot of hard work, but giving an official speech in a foreign language is even harder. During his speech, you can tell that he had a strong reason to give this speech and that it means a lot to him, so he really wanted to try to learn French. And that's what Grégory Collier, who's the general delegate of the Césars, said. From the outset, he was extremely touched by the Academy's invitation. He worked on his speech in French for months, asking me about the exact pronunciation of certain words. I think he worked on his speech for 8 months, and that's really insane because it's just a 5-minute speech. As he said himself, you can tell that he doesn't really speak French every day, but he put in so much work that I'm personally impressed that he got to such a high level in such a short time. So I'm gonna rate him a 7 out of 10. And as always, you're welcome to find the ratings in the comments. But you know, an easier way to do things if you don't have 7-8 months to prepare for a speech is to just learn a few sentences in your language, and for that we have to check out Dua Lipa's Vogue interview where she speaks a bit of French at the end.
Merci beaucoup, Vogue. Je dois partir. Je te laisse. À bientôt.
I find this one so cute. It's always fun to learn a few sentences because they make people so happy. And Dua Lipa is so good at doing that because when she did her Europe tour, she did a lot of covers in the local language wherever she went. She also has sung in French many times in her own songs and also in collabs with French-speaking artists. But you can tell that she grew up in a very international environment because she grew up in London, UK, but she has origins from Kosovo and Albania, so she also speaks fluent Albanian. So in terms of rating, I'm gonna give her a 4. You can tell that she doesn't really speak French, but that doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's all you need to make people happy. And then we have celebrities who go the extra mile and actually move to France, like Diane Kruger, and she has been one of the most requested celebrities on this channel. So in this video, she's talking about a documentary she starred in about Romy Schneider, who also moved to France from Germany.
Ils sont venus me voir parce que je pense que c'est connu que moi j'adore Romy Schneider. En fait, ça a commencé vraiment à l'enfance en Allemagne. Évidemment, Sissi, les films Sissi, c'est l'événement qui m'ont rendu complètement dingue quand j'étais petite. Et elle m'a donné l'espoir de me dire c'est possible de s'émanciper, de partir dans un autre pays, donc la France. Pour moi, la France a toujours été un rêve, quoi. Moi, je rêvais d'avoir un petit fiancé qui ressemblait à Alain Delon, de vivre là-bas, la culture, de commencer ma vie d'adulte, en fait, en France.
Her French is so good. She has a very light little German accent, which, kind of gives things away, but that's absolutely okay. I have a big French accent when I speak English. You don't need to fully blend in. You can really tell that, she loves France and she readapted to the culture.
Et c'est ce que vous avez fait. Vous avez quitté l'Allemagne à 16 ans.
Oui,
pour jamais y retourner, en tout cas pour ne plus y travailler réellement, ni vous y installer.
Oui, c'est ça.
Vous n'y êtes plus retourné.
Oui, enfin, j'aime beaucoup l'Allemagne.
Bien sûr.
Mais c'est vrai que, en fait, c'est vraiment en venant en France, et je parlais pas français, que j'ai découvert ces films. La culture française, le cinéma français, c'est vraiment bizarrement grâce à elle. En fait, je me suis dit, les Français, ils vont pas détester une Allemande avec un fort accent en français.
So here, two things. First, I love how she relates to the movie culture in France, which is often a reason actors and actresses give to move to France. And it's interesting how she talks about her accent, which can be sometimes an insecurity for a lot of people. I speak 4 languages, all with an accent, and I know personally that I have felt the same way. But you have to understand that Diane Kruger is so good with languages. So she has made many movies in French, also in English, but my favorite is of course Inglourious Bastards, where she switches between all her languages. As someone who loves languages, I absolutely love multilingual movies. So in terms of rating, it will come to no surprise to you that I'm gonna give her a 9. She has a very light accent and she sounds like someone who has lived in France for many years, which is exactly what happened. And overall, when you're speaking another language, curiosity and playfulness really go a long way. And there's no better example of that of Spanish singer Rosalía, which everyone in the comments always say I look like, so I'm very flattered.
Je suis très contente d'être là pour la première fois et de vous voir tous ici. Je suis reconnaissante de chanter pour vous et j'espère que vous vous amuserez autant que moi. Je t'aime beaucoup.
Love it. You can tell that it means so much to her audience. Everyone is like shouting and so happy that she speaks in French. And she did really go the extra mile. Like the sentences she used are they're pretty advanced for the context. Not only she can speak a bit of French, but also she has an album in 13 languages. And in an interview with the New York Times, she said that she actually spent 2 years trying to convincingly sing in those languages and that she studied very hard for it. And when asked why, she says, I love traveling. I love learning from other humans. Why would I not try to learn another language and try to sing in another language and expand the way I can be a singer or a musician or an artist? The world is so connected. And I love this quote because speaking another language can really expand your mind. So in terms of rating, I love that she's so enthusiastic about languages and just overall curious about learning them. And a good way you can do that for yourself is with Rosetta Stones of Fire, who is a long-term partner of the channel and the sponsor of today's video. So Rosetta Stones of Fire is a brand new experience by Rosetta Stone. And as always, it's based on their dynamic immersion method to learn a new language naturally. And you also get access to their True Accent feature, where you get pronunciation feedback based on real native speakers. What I love about Rosetta Stones of Fire is that you can personalize your experience. For example, you can build custom vocab lists on any topic, or use chat missions to prepare for real-life conversations like booking a table at a restaurant or asking for directions. If you want to try Rosetta Stones of Fire and get access to 25 languages, you can get 25% off and an exclusive discount by clicking the link in the description or scanning this QR code. So back to Rosalía, if I had to rate her purely on this short clip I showed you, I'd probably give her a 4, but I'm bumping this up to a 5 because of all the hard work she puts in languages in general. And another celebrity you've asked me to react to is Tom Hiddleston. You probably know him from these movies, and I personally didn't know he could speak French. So let's listen to him in this video where he is asked to introduce Loki as a character.
Loki est le frère de Thor. Mais il est... qu'est-ce que ça veut dire adopted?
Adopté.
Adopté? Il est adopté.
Okay, so that's a funny one because as you can hear, it's the exact same word, and that's because around 30% of English words actually come from French. So basically, when you don't know, you can just try saying an English word with a French accent, and it works most of the time.
Et la famille de Asgard est très très compliquée parce que la famille est séparée, est divisée. Et Loki est jaloux et il est envieux, il est un peu en colère de l'intérieur. Il est solitaire, il est méchant, mais aussi il est très très charmant, il est élégant, il est un joueur, il aime provoquer. Et c'est un caractère fascinant, intéressant pour moi parce que c'est la dualité de le charme et il a un cœur brisé.
So as you can hear, his French is very, very good. The only comment I would make is that I think he should trust himself a bit more, because you can tell that he's looking for his words sometimes. But overall, it's pretty impressive, especially knowing that he speaks many languages. So I'm gonna rate him a 7. I think he could 100% be an 8 or even higher if he would just have a little bit more faith in himself, because everything he said is really good. A celebrity I was really surprised by is Hugh Grant. I really had no idea he could speak French, so let's listen to him.
Oh, bonjour, bonsoir tout le monde. Comme toujours, je suis ravi d'être ici. J'adore Paris, j'adore la France. J'ai une maison en France maintenant. C'est le seul endroit du monde, dans le monde où je suis heureux et pas...
I truly didn't know he could speak French so well, and when I tried to find out why, I found out that his mom used to be a French teacher, so that's maybe why. So here he's talking about the movie Heretic, which seems very, very scary.
Vous parlez tellement bien le français que je vais vous poser la question en français.
D'accord.
Ah.
D'accord?
Doucement.
Vous semblez avoir pris beaucoup de plaisir à jouer un rôle de méchant.
Oui, les méchants sont beaucoup plus faciles pour moi parce que c'est moi, finalement. Quand j'étais le rôle principal dans tous les comédies romantiques, c'était un grand mensonge.
So here he's talking about the movie Heretic, which seems very, very scary.
Maintenant que je suis vieux et laid, c'est beaucoup plus facile.
En tout cas, franchement, bravo pour la qualité de votre français.
Mon français a beaucoup amélioré parce que j'ai passé tout le confinement en France.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, I feel when you're immersed in the country, you learn way faster. So in terms of rating, I think he's also a 7. Compared to the last two, they're all very good, but for different reasons. So next up is Jane Fonda. She truly is an icon of cinema and really beloved in France, so I was curious to react to her French. So in this interview, she's being asked about the Cannes Festival and her relationship to France.
I'm always, je suis toujours très heureuse de venir à Cannes. Je crois que je suis venue la première fois en 62 avec Roger Vadim, mon mari. C'était pas le palais à ce moment-là, c'était un autre immeuble.
Oui.
N'est-ce pas?
Oui.
Yeah. Mais c'est toujours très glamoureux et intéressant.
So she was married to a French director and she even starred in French movies.
Oui, je suis venue pour la première fois, j'avais 16 ans. Oui, avec mon père. Et j'ai su tout de suite, c'est mon pays, la France. Ce que j'aimais, c'est la bouffe, les murs, les pieds, les murs dans les villages, les toits de Paris. Et oui, c'était l'époque de la nouvelle vague. Godard, Chabrol, Truffaut et tout. Et c'est pour ça que je suis venue en France quand j'avais 21 ans, je crois.
I love how she says that France is her country. And in terms of rating, later in the interview, she also says that she hasn't spoken French in a very long time. And you can tell sometimes that she sprinkles a few English words here and there. And even though her French is really good, if you don't practice a language, you're gonna forget about it, which is absolutely normal. Like, by now, it's probably harder for her to think in French, and the English words will come first. So that's why I have to rate her a 6. Okay, so if you've been following this series where I react to celebrities speaking French, you know that I'm gonna talk about Jodie Foster. And that's because her French is so good that I personally thought she was French most of my life. I only learned that recently. And I recently found an interview where she talks about her French origin story.
J'ai commencé très jeune. Alors j'ai une excuse. J'ai commencé à l'âge de 9 ans.
9 ans, d'accord.
Ouais.
Donc au lycée français de Los Angeles.
Au lycée français de Los Angeles, oui. C'est la seule façon de le faire, c'est avec l'immersion. Et malheureusement, je parle un peu italien, mais avec un accent français à couper avec un couteau.
Et comment ça se fait que vous vous êtes retrouvée au lycée français de Los Angeles?
C'était ma mère qui n'avait jamais voyagé, qui n'avait jamais été nulle part. Et à l'âge de 50 ans, elle est allée à Paris, en France en fait. Elle a pris un bus de touristes et elle a dit non mais c'est fini maintenant, tu vas devenir actrice française, tu vas aller dans une école française et comme ça tu vas pouvoir jouer en France.
This is so funny to me. I love that her mom, randomly one day she decided that Jodie should speak French after a trip to Paris. It's like crazy how tiny decisions you can make as a parent will impact your kids for the rest of your life.
Ma mère n'a jamais appris le français.
Wow.
Elle a passé quand même pas mal de temps ici après. On avait un appartement ici. Elle n'a jamais appris un mot de français. C'était moi qui faisais toutes les traductions.
This is so funny. It adds to the randomness of the story. She was not interested in learning French for herself, but she was interested in Jodie learning French. Absolutely love that.
Enfin, quand on m'a mis dans le lycée français, c'était tout était en français. Alors, les sciences, les maths, l'histoire, géo, tout ça. Alors, au début, j'étais un peu perdue. Ça m'a pris quand même 6-7 mois avant de pouvoir vraiment apprendre.
Ah ouais, 6-7 mois et après, vous commencez à vous débrouiller.
Je me débrouillais, oui.
C'est quand même bien.
Ouais, ça va.
So I love that she says that and that she's open about how hard it was at first to learn French. Because she went to not speaking any French to being fully immersed in a French education. Often in the comments of my videos, a lot of people say stuff like, oh, you must be gifted to speak a language, or you just started early. But you can see, and that's also my personal experience, because all the languages I speak, I started them early. Even when you do that, it's not that easy. You need to put in the work. And it's truly a lifelong thing. Like, if you're gonna stop practicing, you're gonna forget about them. And you need to be committed to being curious about other cultures and just being happy being a lifelong learner. So that's all for me today. As always, let me know who I should react next. And go watch one of the videos that are on screen right now. I'll see you there. Bye for now.